Shabbat Shalom, my friends. Well, summer is officially here in the Northern Hemisphere, and the Jewish calendar reminds us to bless the incoming new month of Tammuz, Shabbat morning, right now. So let's see. There's Tammuz, Av, Elul, and then Tishrei, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. The lazy, crazy, hazy days of summer are actually quite limited. Our Sedra is Shelach Lecha, Numbers 13:1 to 15:41. There's a great narrative here, a well-known story about Moses sending out the 12 spies or scouts or whatever to explore what the land of Canaan is all about. Why did Moses do this? Our Sedra provides a straightforward answer. God told Moses to do it. Shelach Lecha, God says to Moses, send out scouts that the people could know what lies ahead. Okay, that's an answer. So let's move on. But wait, in chapter 1 of Deuteronomy, we hear Moses tell the people, Al tira ve'al techat, don't be afraid, don't be dismayed. You can successfully occupy the land. But the people retort, not good enough, Moses. Send a delegation to reconnoiter the land so that we can know in advance what awaits us. The people had already heard how they will be borne on eagle's wings into the promised land, but they preferred some eyewitness accounts, not an abundance of poetic imagery. So, did God want the 12 scouts, one from each tribe? Or did the people demand that the scouts be sent? The rabbis, of course, go into Talmudic ecstasy, trying to reconcile these two differing versions, but no matter, the end result is absolutely the same. The Israelites, because of their lack of trust in God, will be condemned to wander in the desert for 40 years. Why were the people so harshly punished? For Rashi, answer's clear. The original sin here is asking for the scouts to be sent out in the first place. This showed that despite all of their encounters with God, they fundamentally didn't trust God, that God would make certain that they'd be able to enter and settle the land safely. Now, of course, Rashi's explanation only fits with the Deuteronomic version, not with the version found in our Sedra. Nachmanides Ramban disagrees with Rashi. There was nothing wrong with the people who were confronting a military operation seeking more information. After all, we are told over and over again, en somchin al hanes, don't depend upon miracles, know what lies ahead. So what went wrong here is how the people took the scouts' reports and then went into total despair. We can't do this. They wept. They sobbed. They turned against Moses. They abandoned any faith in God's promises. And to top it off, they demanded that they be allowed to return to the comforts of Egyptian slavery. Obviously, this cringing, miserable lot would not be allowed to enter the land because, hey, they've surrendered even before they'd started. Nechama Leibowitz points to an additional grievous misstep. She quotes Isaac Arama, who wrote that the people had failed the most important test of all. They were meant to enter Canaan so that they might construct a community dedicated to God, committed to the values of Torah. When they heard that entering the land would not be a cakewalk, they weighed the struggle ahead over against the vision of building a sacred community. And they then just quit. Why die for something so very intangible? Why die for amorphous visions of a better, nobler world? Let's just go back to Egypt, eat some fish, and return to work. So they murmured against God, they plotted against Moses. Later in our Sedra, we find a direct condemnation of people who despise God's word, who abandon God's commandments, who act in such a way that displays a disregard for what the future might bring. Now this was absolutely unacceptable to God. If the people were not going to embrace the opportunity to build a life based upon justice, upon equality, upon mutual respect and support, then the enterprise that began with the Exodus is doomed to failure. Our text sees God so very angry that only when Moses cautions God that destroying the Israelites right now would also destroy God's own reputation among the nations, only then did God relent. The Israelites would survive, but not this generation of Israelites. So much was going on here. Did the 10 spies who expected failure see something different from the 2 spies who expected success? Answer, no, not at all. Everyone saw the majesty of the land. Everyone saw the fruitfulness of the soil. Everyone saw the giant clusters of grapes. Everyone saw the exact same thing. No one was deceived. No one turned a blind eye to reality. Yes, the land was filled with strong armies and skilled warriors. Yes, there will be resistance that will not simply melt away before us. Facts were facts. All 12 acknowledge those facts. The facts weren't twisted, and the facts weren't wrong. But 10 of the spies had hearts that interpreted those facts one way, while the other 2 heard their hearts deliver a totally different message. Now, that's not such a strange phenomenon, is it? When the early Zionists in the 19th century sought to make their case for a large-scale return to Zion, the situation they confronted was quite similar. Facts could be agreed upon, but what to do with the facts, how to respond to the facts, how to interpret those facts, such concerns were the source of radical and bitter disagreement. What do we do when what our eyes see can be so dramatically misinterpreted by our very own hearts? These texts speak directly and personally to me today, right now. We're surrounded by facts, economic facts, geopolitical facts, interpersonal facts, international facts, medical facts, psychological facts. But even as we acknowledge all of those facts, be aware that we understand them and we interpret them so very differently. And because we understand them differently, our responses to those facts will differ in the most amazing and troubling ways. It isn't that our eyes today need corrective lenses. It is far more likely that we must spend time carefully examining matters of the heart. Who are we? What is our vision as to what our communities and our country should look like when we touch the noblest parts of our being? And most of us do in fact have noblest parts of our being? Which decisions about the facts that we share will be more likely to lead to a strong, just, and compassionate world, and which decisions are more likely to rip us apart and turn us against one another? Which decisions have the better chance of creating the kind of world within which we would want our children and our grandchildren to live, and which decisions would deposit them into a dystopia in which joy and personal fulfillment and noble achievement will have little or no place? The spies all saw the same thing. Their eyes functioned properly, but their hearts, now that's a different story for them and for us. Have a wonderful week. Happy Tammuz. See you next week. Have a great, great week.